We've never had an internet librarian on the show before. So today we have, I think, probably the original internet librarian, Brewster Kahle, who founded the Internet Archive, Brewster, back in 1996?
Yep, 96.
Well, Brewster, it's a real honor to have you on TechCrunch TV.
Thank you, Andrew.
Why have you never been here before?
Not as much to say. I guess we've been moving along pretty well.
So everyone knows about the Internet Archive. Everyone knows you as a digital librarian. But for perhaps the 1 in a million in our audience who doesn't know, what is it you do as a digital librarian, and what is the Internet Archive?
The idea is to collect everything ever published on the web and make it permanently accessible. Then we moved on to television, music. We have live music concerts, everything the Grateful Dead ever has done. Books, we digitized 2 million books. So the idea is to try to make a library of everything and make it available to anybody for free that wants to have access to it.
And why are you doing that?
Build a library. That's, I think, the opportunity of the internet. The internet is, well, okay, now we know it's a big surveillance network, but let's take it as a more positive view. It's actually access to information. But if you only got the information that corporations want you to see right now, you know, that's kind of an Orwellian world. So how do we go and have some history to it, be able to go and browse, find things that aren't corporately promoted, the press releases that the government took down already? How do we go and have those available?
So, Brewster, how many people come to the Internet Archive, and how much material do you have there?
We got about 3 million users a day. We're about the 300th most popular website according to Alexa Internet, which is pretty darn good.
And you founded Alexa, right? So you should know these things.
So I should know these things. Though I don't have an ability to change those numbers. Unfortunately, I'd really like to be number one. You know, knock Google off. But alas.
So do you kind of compete with Wikipedia or not?
No, Wikipedia, God, they're completely great. No, they have the short form answers to all sorts of things. But if you want to go and know the debates, you want to read books, you want to know in depth, you want to know opinions, you want to know controversy, then you're going to go to other things than Wikipedia. You're going to go dive deeper. If you want movies, we've got digitized old movies, not only of Hollywood films, but educational, government propaganda films, those sorts of things. And that's what millions of people use every day.
So, Brewster, I'm an author in my day job, and I like to be paid for my work.
Yeah.
Are you paying me? I hope you have my books in your library, but what's the business model here?
Libraries buy things and they lend them out. That's what they do. And in the internet world, if it's not available for sale, they just collect it. So we collect television, we collect web pages, but when we digitize books, we digitize old books, and we buy ebooks from publishers and lend them out. And so if you go to openlibrary.org.
So how much would you pay for a book?
We pay like $30, $50 a book that then we can lend out one person at a time. We find that publishers just aren't doing it.
Are you making physical libraries redundant?
We love physical libraries. In some sense, we've got one of those. We now have collected 700,000 physical books because libraries are throwing books away, so that's kind of a problem. But the idea of the physical spaces that libraries make, great idea. Let's just make it so that if you walk and slog your bones into a library, you have access to everything ever published. How about all music ever? How do you go and do that? Well, it's going to be electronic, and that's because libraries have a different way of viewing the world by going and buying things and lending them out within constraints so that they don't interrupt normal commerce. They don't knock off Amazon.com. That's not really the point. But the idea is that there are different things you can do in a library.
So what would be what's the point then of owning anything, a movie, a book, a piece of music, if everything is in the Internet Archive? Are you doing away with the idea of ownership?
Oh, we love the idea. It's the only way that libraries work is to be able to buy and own something. And it's a real problem right now in the book world. So when we go to publishers and say, we want to buy an ebook just like we used to, well, we get to own a copy, we get to reformat it, we get to lend it one person at a time, or if we buy 100 copies, then 100 at a time, fine. And they just say, no, we want to rent it to you. We want to lease it to you. We want to make it so that if you don't pay up next year, we're going to take them all away. We think this is just not a way to build a digital future. And it's not the way to use the public's money. We spend $12 billion a year on our libraries.
And you're a nonprofit.
We're a nonprofit.
And how do you raise your money?
Mostly foundations. We also get paid to turn pages and collect web pages. We work with the Library of Congress, National Archives. But it's basically like viewers of your program that go and donate.
We got some rich people hopefully watching this. The 30-second pitch on why they should donate to you.
With $30, we can digitize a book and make it available around the world. So for $30 million, we'd have 1 million books to everybody. The whole collecting the World Wide Web is an ongoing issue. We've collected 2 petabytes in the last 6 months. That's a heck of a lot of data. It's used by a lot of people. It's the only thing that keeps corporations and the government accountable. How is this not a good thing to go and spend a few shekels on?
And I've been hearing, Brewster, that the NSA's been knocking on your door recently.
Yes. It was actually the FBI when demanded information with one of those secret Patriot Act things called National Security Letters. It was several years ago, but it's become quite relevant again because now we know, well, they've been knocking on a lot of other people's doors and they're not saying a whole lot. So there are only 3 of us that have ever pushed back against the FBI's secret.
So for our audience, explain what happened. They were interested in someone who was visiting your library?
Yes, they were interested in somebody that was either uploading or downloading. So a patron of our library. Because we free host things and they wanted to know.
How did they find out about it?
Oh, they looked at it on the net.
Right.
Right, I mean, it's all public.
So what did they want to know? What they were borrowing?
I can't quite tell you that. I can't tell you who they were actually, but they were interested in everything about this particular
And when was this?
5 years ago. And we talked to EFF and said, so how do we, go back to the court and say, this isn't, and say, no, it didn't go through a court. It was just some person in the FBI that wanted this information. And you'd never be able to tell anybody about it ever again. Well, your board, your wife, nothing.
Is this illegal, what you're saying to me now?
No, it was because we pushed back. And EFF said the only thing you can do to push back is to sue the United States government.
So you sued the government?
So we sued the government.
How much for?
And we won. We wanted this thing taken away. But we wanted it taken away in a particular way, which is we wanted to be able to talk about it. I want to make a cookbook so that if anybody else got one of these nasty things, that they'd be able to go and say, okay, go to these lawyers and do this thing, and we put all the court documents, except the people that they were looking for information on, and we made this available.
Brewster, you're in the Internet Hall of Fame. Before you did the Internet Archive, you were a very successful entrepreneur. How disturbed are you by all this NSA stuff?
I think it's darn creepy. The Internet is this big piece of trust that, I grew up with my sister going and hiding away her journal under her bed to keep it from me, but now she'd be doing that on Facebook. That we have a great deal of trust, and we could just collapse this pretty quickly. Certainly my parents were alive during the McCarthy era. Things can suck, and I think we're getting back there in a bigger way. I'm at least glad the debate is happening in the open. The idea that it's a national security versus privacy is hogwash. It's national security and personal security versus broken software. Either it's deliberately broken or it's buggy. So we should just get rid of the buggy, broken software.
I know you've been critical of Google in the past. How much responsibility do you place on companies like Google and Facebook and Skype and the other companies that have been giving over the data to the NSA?
I think those companies are really easy pickings for the government. The government loves to just deal with a few big players because, hey, one-stop shopping. And hey, look, you've got all these smart people who can data mine this stuff for you, so you don't even have to do it yourself. That is a problem. What we really want, I'd suggest, is open distributed systems that have no central points of control. We have these very large organizations that are taking over whole media types, whether it's YouTube, this is just sort of dominating the whole video industry. This doesn't make any sense. Commercially, security-wise, it's fragile. It's a monoculture. It doesn't work.
And is that distributed product, should that be a non-profit or a for-profit?
At least all the protocols and how it interoperates should all be open and freely addressable. So the World Wide Web is a good example of when things actually worked. But you see what happened to email. I mean, email was intended very well, and it's kind of spam-ridden hellhole. So there's some way of trying to keep up the systems to keep a distributed system without central points of control. I kind of like BitTorrent is interesting. Bitcoin is very interesting. We're starting to pay our employees. Some of our employees are wanting Bitcoins. We now have ATM. We got our restaurant around our corner to go and take Bitcoins. We see ourselves supporting these sorts of endeavors.
Brewster, finally, the Internet or the World Wide Web will be 25 years old next year, 2014. Tim Berners-Lee came up with the original idea, the white paper for it back in 1989. Very briefly, 25-year birthday of the web. What are you most happy about and most disturbed with over the last 25 years? Easy question to end.
Oh yeah, I love this. That we've basically gone and disproven something, that people will only do something for money. It's just not true. People want to share. They want to go and make their expertise known. They want to be, especially if they can get credit, they go and interact with other people. This is just this, we're building a library, a global brain that is just of awesome capabilities by mixing people, networks, and computers all together. The thing that I am sad about is we never put a business model in well enough to really make it work without advertising. Advertising makes winner-takes-all businesses. You see it within radio, television, magazines. It's not a great system. Much prefer royalty as well as sort of more of a giving and sharing world.
Well, Brewster Kahle, the digital librarian, didn't disappoint me. You wore a purple shirt. I always fantasized that digital librarians wore purple shirts. I hope you'll keep the same shirt on when you come in again to talk more about the way in which the library is reflecting all the data in the world. Brewster Kahle, a real honor to have you on TechCrunch TV.
Thank you. Good to be here.